slotted rotors. It's pretty simple. Same way you took the other ones out, you put these in, but I'll show you how it's done. First, got the empty sub-assembly here. You just pretty much set it into place, and that's pretty much it. In the old rotor that we had in here, it was being held up by this tiny screw. The new rotors, sometimes they come with the holes so that you can screw it back on, sometimes they don't. Like I said, the purpose of this is really to hold it in place while you're assembling the brakes, so it's really not a necessary item. So we're going to head and put that screw on the side. We don't need it. This is sitting there nice and firm. See, it'll shake around. That's the purpose of the screw, but we don't have the hole on here, so we're not going to use it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to reinstall the caliper bracket. Okay, same exact way we removed it. Make sure it goes in the right way. Make sure these little metal shims are in there because you're going to need those. And we'll grab the two screws, which are the ones with the washers, and we'll put those back in there. Put them into the back again. Screw them in. There's only two of them. Again, the one with the washer. And in case you didn't see the first video, this is a 2002 Hyundai Elantra replacing the stock rotors, which were warped, with new pre-drilled and cross-cut rotors. Alright, so these are hand tightened already. So I'm going to use my ratchet 14mm socket, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten these two bolts on. Again, these bolts are just holding the bracket in place. This bracket holds the caliper and the brake pads. Alright, make sure they're nice and snug. Okay, I think we're good. Now the bracket is on. We're going to go ahead and grab the caliper, which is back here. Now this caliper, when you're replacing the brakes, you're going to have to push this piston back here. In order to push the piston back, you have to get this tool. Now I don't own a tool like this, so I went to AutoZone. If you happen to have an AutoZone in your area, they actually do free tool rentals. You have to give a deposit, but once you're done and return the tool, you get your money back. So you can't beat it for free, right? So anyways, you select the right size wheel on there, the disc, and you place it on there, and then you just turn. It can be a little tight, but once you get it going, it eases up. And you just turn it counterclockwise, nice and easy, until you get the piston to back up far enough so that the new pads go in easily, and it slides easily over the brake rotor. Now one of the things I do is before I actually start pushing these pistons in, is I go over to the under the hood and I open up the cover for the brake reservoir, because you want to make sure that the brake fluid backs up into the reservoir as you're pushing this piston in without any resistance. So as I'm turning this, every now and then I'll get up every couple of spins and I'll go check the reservoir to make sure I'm not overflowing and spilling that brake fluid all over the place up there. Alright. Okay, I'm going to take a moment now just to go check that reservoir, because I've spun it a couple of times to make sure that I'm not overflowing. And you come over here. This here is the brake fluid reservoir. And you check that. You see it's high actually, but it's alright because we did the other side already, and once you start pressing on the brakes, that fluid drops, the level drops again. So let's go and keep pushing that piston back. Again, when you're handling this brake caliper, you kind of want to be gentle with it as you're putting it down, because you got the brake hoses back here and you don't want to snag them anywhere, cause a leak, then you'll have all sorts of problems. Okay. It takes quite a few spins to get the piston to go back as far as you need it to go to have the clearance for the new brake pads. One of the advantages of getting the cross-drilled and slotted rotors in replacement of the stock rotors is that they don't have to be cut before you install them. A lot of times you buy new rotors, you have to cut them first before you can put them on, which just adds another task. But just making sure we have enough clearance here. Alright, I think we're far back enough. As you can see, the piston dropped back a lot. I'm going to put this piston aside for now. I mean the caliper aside for now. And we're going to go ahead and grab our brake pads. The brake pads in the back you're going to find are significantly smaller. Mine had this lip up here that actually came up pretty high. I took them downstairs. I have a grinding wheel and I kind of grinded it down. Otherwise, they don't sit properly with the brake caliper on them. You know, depending on the brakes you get, they may not have that, you know, but if you do and you find that the caliper doesn't sit properly, just grind these pieces down. It really doesn't have an impact on it. Of the two brake pads, the one with the little metal tab here, this is what actually hisses when your brakes are low, so you know your brakes are low. This is the one that goes in the back. So you put that one with the little metal clip facing upwards. You go ahead and... I was missing something. This little, again, this little shim. You got to make sure the shim is in place. Put it back up there. These shims are actually what the brake pads slide on when they're moving back and forth as you press the brakes. So, okay, that brake pad is on. Once the brake pad is on, you know, it holds the little metal shims in place. And the other one, put it in there, just slide it right in. There they go, perfectly pressed in. Caliper, I mean the rotor's pressed back. And then you nice and easily, you just slide the caliper right over the brakes. And I backed up the piston far enough so we have just the clearance we need to go ahead and put the caliper in place. Now you grab the two screws that you removed in the beginning. When you remove the caliper, you put one on the bottom. Just screw it in by hand to get it started in place. And the other one, put it in. Same thing, screw it in by hand. Later on, we'll tighten them up with the wrench. You don't want to strip these screws, so you kind of make sure that you get them started by hand always before you tighten them with the wrench. All right, I think we're good to go here. Again, to put these on, we're using the 14mm socket. Yeah, you got to kind of play with these a little bit just to get the screw to go in exactly where you want it. Yeah, this is not working out here. I'm going to pull this one back out. Yeah, these are kind of like a fine thread screw, so you got to make sure that you got it sitting just right. Otherwise the screw won't go in. It's giving you, like it's doing to me, it's giving me a hard time here. There you go. Now I got it. Alright. Alright, this one more time. There we go. Now we got it. Okay, that one's tight. We're going to go back afterwards and snug them both. Make sure they're nice and tight. You don't want these things staying loose.